Hi guys. For those of you who don't know what this video is, it's a little bit of a spoiler for book 3. There was a vote earlier on in the week in the fan club as to whether people would want a sneak peek of Safe Haven Reaper the Righteous or not, and it turns out that a number of you do. So if you were one of the ones who definitely doesn't want to know anything about what's going to happen but would prefer to read it when the book's released, now's probably a good time to turn off. Otherwise, I hope you're sitting comfortably. Chapter 1. The sea mist engulfed the small motorised dinghy as it chugged across the still morning water. Samantha Fletcher, Sammy to all who knew her, sat at the back of the boat with tears streaming down her face. They had been ever since she was given her instructions and set adrift 15 minutes earlier. For a girl of 8, she had an old head on her shoulders, but with the sound of gunfire and explosions behind her, and the frightening realms of the unknown ahead, all she could do was act her age. She'd been out in the dinghy a number of times with Mike, and he had taught her how to start and stop the motor as well as steer, but she had never been out in fog. She hated crying. She hated the part of her that was still a frightened little girl, and at this precise moment in time, there were more reasons to cry than not. She switched off the motor and crawled over to where her older brother lay. Sammy shook him. "Wake up, Mike," she begged. When he didn't, she draped her arm across his chest, nestled her head into his shoulder, and sobbed herself to sleep. The dark interior of the lorry smelt like rotting meat. The women huddled together in small frightened groups, crying, begging for mercy to unhearing gods. The only light came from holes in the siding caused by stray bullets. Lucy and Emma had been through a lot together. They had developed a sisterly bond during their journey from Leeds to the northwest of Scotland, and not just because Lucy and Mike, Emma's younger brother, had fallen in love. The terrors they had fought together. The horrors they had seen together. The losses were mourned and the victories were shared, and now they were like blood. They sat shoulder to shoulder in a corner of the lorry. They had been joined by Beth, another survivor from Leeds, and Sarah, a teacher at a deaf school who had befriended them. "Where are Annie and John?" Emma whispered to Beth as the lorry jutted over another pothole in the road. "Sarah and I hid them, as well as her kids and a few others, with the librarians under the stage in the village hall. I'm hoping they didn't find them, but we were rounded up pretty soon afterwards." "Why didn't you stay with them?" "Because we knew you wouldn't run and hide. We knew you'd need help." She paused. "Where are Mike, Sammy, and Jake?" "Jake ran off. We don't know where he is. Sammy and Mike are on a boat heading across to one of the small islands," said Emma, the whisper hiding the fact that her voice was breaking with sorrow. After a long pause, Beth asked, "How did you get Mike to agree to that?" This time it was Lucy who spoke, but not to Beth. "That look on his face. I can't get it out of my head. That look of betrayal." Emma took hold of her hand. "He'd be dead now if it wasn't for you, Lucy." Lucy turned her head towards Emma. Her look was distant. "What if that was the last time I ever see him? What if the final memory he has of me is betraying him?" "What happened?" asked Beth. When Lucy didn't speak, Emma replied, "We had to drug him. He wanted to fight. He wanted to—" "But there are hundreds of them," replied Sarah this time. "You haven't really seen Mike when his back's against the wall, but he becomes emotional." "It was the right thing to do," Beth reassured the pair of them. "He'd have been killed in seconds. These men are merciless. I saw one of them crack Callum MacDonald's head open with the butt of their rifle. He was nearly 90, for God's sake. He was no threat to them." The image of the old man floated like a ghost in front of them, as the drone of the engines took them nearer to their nightmarish future. And that, my dears, is all you're going to get for the time being. Now, you have to appreciate I'm not the best narrator in the world, and also that was before the editor had a go at it, so there were probably going to be a couple of little bits and pieces that might change, but at least you have a little taste now of Safe Haven Reaper the Righteous. So thank you very much for your patience. This whole thing is taking longer than I anticipated, but we're in the closing stages now. Dean's doing some work on the cover, which I'm really looking forward to seeing. And my editor is nearly done with the first round of editing, and we're not that far off now. Things are looking very positive. So I hope that was enough of a little fix for the time being, and I will see you very, very soon. Take care.